Family drama is everywhere. Now, would it make someone a jerk if they told their husband that their sister-in-law couldn't stay with them during their holidays? We'll get into that story shortly. But first, am I the jerk? Told my girlfriend her destructive and disrespectful younger brother and sister can't come anymore. Am I the jerk for not wanting my girlfriend's younger siblings at our house anymore because they keep damaging everything I fix? Me, 30-year-old male, and my girlfriend, 26-year-old female, bought our first home about 2.5 years ago. It was a total fixer-upper, but I was willing to learn and do things DIY to save money. Since then, I've poured thousands of pounds, all of my annual leave, and endless weekends into this place. Every improvement, repair, or upgrade has been me alone. My girlfriend isn't great with money and hasn't contributed financially, and she also doesn't have the skills or interest in DIY, so I don't hold that against her. The issue is her younger brother, 14, and sister, 12. Every time they come over, they're incredibly disrespectful of the house. For example, her brother once took a hammer to the porch tiles and cracked 2 of them. When I asked if he'd do that in his own house, he said no. I told him bluntly not to do it in mine. Her parents brushed it off with, "It's only a couple of tiles," but I reminded them that their landlord pays for their repairs while I'm footing the bill and losing time. I spent ages laying a sandstone patio, and her sister dragged metal chairs across it, scratching the surface, even after I told her to pick them up instead. Just last night, her sister begged to stay over. I agreed. This morning, I woke up to a flooded bathroom because she apparently put all her weight on a tap, bending the pipe. Now I've got water damage under recently laid flooring, and my entire weekend will be spent ripping it all up and fixing it. When I say I don't want them over anymore because every visit ends up costing me time, money, and stress, I got called unreasonable. But from my perspective, I'm constantly undoing damage caused by kids who don't respect the space I've worked so hard on. So, am I the jerk for putting my foot down and not wanting them at the house anymore? I will keep this short and sweet, as I always say. Your house, your rules, not the jerk. Plus, they're just, like you said, being very disrespectful. Sally Struther 69 replied, "Not the jerk. Your girlfriend needs to pay for all the damages. I would say that she also has to physically do all the work with the repairs, but you know she's not going to do it properly. It's alarming to me that she doesn't seem to care about you or your home. I would kick them all out and lock the door behind them." Also, hey everybody, my name is Brendan, and if you enjoy these Am I the Jerk videos, it'd be amazing if you liked the video or commented down below if you're listening to our podcast. Now then, our next story is... Am I the jerk for suggesting my in-laws stay at an Airbnb instead of us leaving our home with our kitten? My parents-in-law are visiting us for a week. Because our space is small, 50m2, they would have to sleep on the couch, which they wouldn't like, so I suggested booking an Airbnb for them. That way they could spend the day with us, enjoy homemade meals, my husband insists on that, they'll get mad if it isn't the case, then go out and return for dinner at our place before spending the night at their Airbnb comfortably. My husband hated this idea and was furious. He wants us to leave our apartment for them and stay at an Airbnb ourselves, taking our 3-month-old kitten with us because they hate cats, and then come back every morning to prepare meals, do house chores for them, and spend the day with them. Am I crazy for thinking this sounds unreasonable? No, you're not crazy. This idea sounds quite crazy. That is overly accommodating, and if you're super against this, no, I would continue to dig in and push back, not the jerk. Tired and confused, Sai replied, "This is insanity. It's your home. Say no and don't leave. Also, please get rid of your husband. How embarrassing to be an adult man pandering to his mummy like that." Our next story is, Am I the jerk? Today, I freaked out at my in-laws. My wife's mom and stepdad moved a very far distance away 6 years ago, just before my son was born. They reach out weekly via video chat and talk to my wife and son. They also usually visit about every 6 months for a week or so. Her stepdad is the kind of guy with a crude sense of humor, lots of lowball sexual or racial jokes. Not at those folks, but almost as a knock-knock joke type laugh. My wife has had her nipples pierced for 2.5 years. Between their last 2 visits, she said he's asked or very heavily insinuated he wanted to see them 3 times. When neither her mom or I were in the room, that it made her uncomfortable. Today, during their weekly call, her mom handed him the phone to go use the bathroom and carry on the convo, and he pulled out his nipple and gestured to my wife, who was at the time in a tube top. She told me today, and it sort of festered. I texted him that man to man, it's making her uncomfortable, to stop it, that I don't plan to drag this situation out, but that it needs to stop or I plan to take further action myself. which is now spun to her mom and stepdad, saying she should have been able to come to him herself. That he's only joking and does that stuff all the time, that I went too far by threatening ominous further action. My kid loves them. Heck, my wife loves having them in her life. They've cut communication. I just feel bad for my kid. He's innocent. Heck, even my wife. She didn't ask me to address this with him. As her husband, I didn't want it to remain unchecked. No, you're fully in the right, OP, to, protect your wife and call it out. No matter what the intentions are, if it's making someone feel uncomfortable, immediately, joke's not funny anymore. Gotta drop it, so no, not the jerk. Character Twist 1409 replied, "Not the jerk. Do you really want your kid around this type of pervy comments and behavior? How often has he joked like this before to your wife, alone? How old was your wife when they got together? Don't let them turn this around on you. They're the problem. You can apologize to your wife if she wanted to handle it, but to be honest, your kid is better off without someone acting pervy and your mother-in-law enabling it." Our next story is, am I the jerk for saying couples on group trips shouldn't get priority? So me, 27-year-old male, my brother, 27-year-old male, his wife, 26-year-old female, and her friend, 25-year-old female, are on vacation right now. We've been planning this trip for almost a full year now, and it's come to fruition. We're splitting the stay 4 ways between the 4 of us. My brother's wife hasn't had a job for a month or so now, but has since we started to plan this. Because we couldn't see Airbnb rooms in person, really over photos, no room designations were made prior. One location I shared a bedroom with them, but was given access to no outlets while they did. The second, I was given the room with no AC, while theirs did. The country typically has no central AC, so some rooms have units. We later found a hidden AC unit in my room, but was still given the room when we all believed there wasn't any. The third location, I have to climb 3 flights of stairs while they're on the main floor. Since we've gotten here, they've decided they get first pick of rooms. Their reasoning is because my brother alone is paying for half the stay, 2/4 splits, and that they get first pick. I argued that it's unfair they get to just discount the other 2 people, myself and the friend, just because they as a couple are sharing a cost. There should be more conversation to this. We're all on this trip, and we're each paying our part. Just because they're a couple doesn't mean they should get majority shareholder power. My brother said that I was being selfish because he thought my argument was that they should sacrifice the better rooms for me, which is not my argument, but that they alone don't get to make those decisions. It's his wife's decision to not work, I fully support, and my brother's decision to finance both their travel expenses. That doesn't mean my input on a trip I'm paying my share for is selfish. It just sounds like you guys don't need to be traveling together. Problem solved. Find new travel buddies. Queen Guinevere Kitten replied, "Not the jerk, but you know that. Obviously, if properties have 1 double and 2 singles, then it only makes sense for them to get the double. But otherwise, you should be taking it in turns to get the first choice, or you and the friend will just end up resenting your brother and his wife. If they've had first pick for the first 3 properties, get the friend on board and have a conversation. There are 4 of you, so you take it in turns. While that means that your brother and his wife will have first pick 50% of the time, because that's just the maths, you and the friend still get first pick some of the time, instead of always coming after the couple." Our next story is, am I the jerk for refusing to have my sister-in-law's service dog at my wedding? I once put in Am I the jerk long ago, and it was super helpful, so maybe this will be helpful again. I'm getting married in 5 months with my fiancé, and we sent our invitations last week. Context: my sister-in-law, my husband's brother's wife, has a medical dog since she had brain cancer around 5 years ago. She has seizures where she feels dizzy 20 seconds beforehand and then goes unconscious for a couple minutes. This happens 3 to 4 times a week. She has a dog who senses the seizure 1 to 2 minutes beforehand and gives her the time to lay down in a safe place and warn people that a seizure is coming. The dog, Labrador, is an angel, but sister-in-law, not so much. She's not a good person. She claims wrong facts about my fiancé and I's respective fields, med and biology/environment, and screams at us when we politely call her out. We don't like her, but we're civil because my brother-in-law loves her. My own sister, on the other hand, is my favorite person on earth. She's my maid of honor. She's very allergic to dogs. If she's in the same room, her eyes get red and very itchy. She sneezes constantly, and she has a little asthma attack. Antihistaminic don't work on her. She isn't an entitled person, prefers to sacrifice herself than to penalize the person with the service dog. But if in the same closed room with the dog for 5 hours, she will obviously have a strong asthma attack. Me and my fiance want my maid of honor to be comfortable in our wedding, and it's shallow, but I want her to feel pretty in the pictures and not have swollen red eyes. And we want our sister-in-law to be safe, but we thought that with her husband always around her, she'll have someone to lean on. We even proposed to bring a +1 to be there with her at all instants. And the venue is a 50-person room, so it's not possible to have them separated enough, and no backyard wedding in winter. We wanted to announce those propositions face to face, but sister-in-law canceled our lunch together last minute and the invites needed to be sent. So we wrote her on Messenger all our points and propositions. And we thought it was a good idea because it gave her time to think and not feel pressure to answer our invites at the immediate moment, compared to a phone call or face to face. She called me and screamed that I was ableist and a jerk for suggesting to remove her from her medical help, and that I want her to create a scene at our wedding and get a concussion from falling. Brother-in-law just said, what she says goes, and we don't know what he thinks. Mother-in-law is furious and starts to say she won't come to the wedding if sister-in-law can't bring her dog. I know I'm biased because I obviously prefer my sister, and because I myself have food allergies and believe allergies should be accommodated in my wedding. What should I do? Am I the jerk? Is it a jerk move of me to suggest that? Edit. After reading some comments, I should adjust one thing. No outdoor wedding was possible. The time is in the winter because mother-in-law, brother-in-law, and sister-in-law, and others travel in the USA for 3 months. So the time is only because we wanted my fiance's family to be present. The place was chosen because it's wheelchair accessible, and we have 2 persons that need the wheelchair, my grandma, my fiance's aunt. So sadly, no, it was not possible to have big spaces outside. The place we chose was our only option in our city, and even there we went over budget. And the place needs to be in our city, and this year, if I wanted my grandma to be present because of her medical treatments. Well, whether you like someone more than the other person or not, I don't think it's necessarily fair to prioritize someone else's medical conditions over another person. So the best option, I think, is to just not invite sister-in-law and leave it at that, because obviously it would be very irresponsible for her to be at the wedding without the dog. But at the same time, if you want to look out for your maid of honor, she can't be around dogs. It's got to be one or the other here, and you made your choice. Salacious Peach replied, not the jerk. In disability justice, we talk about how some accessibility needs are incompatible with others. Some people are in wheelchairs and can't use the stairs. Some cane users find slopes are dangerous and can't use ramps. Some people are autistic and can't be around loud sounds. Some people are hard of hearing and need sounds to be loud in order to hear them. And yeah, some people have debilitating dog allergies and other people have service dogs. There are some cases where you just can't compromise and you have to make choices knowing that someone is going to get the raw end. You physically cannot have both your sister and sister-in-law in the same place. This isn't something you decided. Nature and genetics and the nature of time and space have created this situation. You have to side with somebody. You just have to. Both is not an option here. And you've decided to side with the person who's been nice and supportive to you instead of the one who belittles you. That's incredibly understandable. You just didn't frame it in a way they would listen to, because someone who would belittle you for your job is going to belittle you for every other decision you make. So they're deflecting it onto you being a jerk, but also, where's your future spouse in all this? Who do they want at the wedding when they face the fact that both is not an option? Our next story is, am I the jerk for ruining my friend's pregnancy announcement? I'm 24 years old, male, and I have a friend who's 26 years old, male, who's the closest thing to a brother that friends can be. We've been friends for over 10 years, and I truly love him, but he's always had problems with romantic relationships. He dated a girl for 5 years who clearly didn't like him, and even though I tried to tell him that he should break up, he just didn't listen. After those 5 years, this girl, who was already his wife at the time, cheated on him with a friend and left. I thought it was the perfect opportunity to make him realize he dodged a bullet, but only a month later, he started dating again. The new girl doesn't hate him like the old one, but she's also extremely selfish and has some anger issues. I was opposed to this new relationship from day one, arguing that it was too soon to meet someone new after a 1-month breakup, but again, he didn't care. A year went by, and this friend said he was going to marry this girl. And at the wedding, he pulled our closest group of friends aside and said that the girl was pregnant. Not by accident, but because they thought it was the right time. My brain just froze, and while everybody looked at me, I stayed locally silent until everybody left. It created an awkward situation, and I understand that it's not nice to have your best friend not even say congrats to you in a situation like this, but I really couldn't react any other way. There are a lot of other details that make this decision even worse, but in the end, I know it's his life. Am I the jerk? OP, I get where you're coming from, but just don't interfere in other people's relationships. You don't know what's necessarily going on behind closed doors. And maybe it is a toxic relationship, you might be right. It's not your place, though, to meddle in that. So, with love, I'm going to say YTA here. Sports Dogs 123 replied, "You're the jerk, and you're way too involved in your friend's romantic life. Step way, way, way back and let the poor man make his own choices and live his own life." Our next story is, "Am I the jerk for wanting my girlfriend to pay back money I loaned her?" Hi guys, I need some insight on my girlfriend of 6 years and a loan that hasn't been paid back. Context: we have a good relationship, but recently have been facing one or two issues. We've also kind of realized our financial values are slightly different. Where she's a lot more generous with her money with gifts, money is shared around her family a lot more than mine. However, overall, she finds it hard to save. I'm opposite and am more on the frugal side, similar to my family, and have been able to save a decent enough amount of money to try and buy my first house. Income-wise are also on somewhat different figures. I earn roughly 2 to 2.5 times what she does. As for the issue with the loan, I've loaned her approximately $10K a little over a year ago to help her buy a car in which she really wanted. She had also somewhat fallen on hard times and couldn't have afforded the car without my loan. Fast forward to present, she's been in a good job for the last 8 months, however, to me it seems like she doesn't have much intention of paying the loan back. When I initially loaned the money to her, I was very clear it was a loan and I would want the amount paid back at a later date, in which she enthusiastically agreed. 3 years dating and planning a future together, I had the utmost trust in her. After bringing the subject up recently, she's been saying she'd been blindsided. She thinks since we're planning a future together and our money will be pooled eventually, she shouldn't have to pay it back. This has really led me to question the different financial values we have. I'm trying to figure out if I'm a jerk by still asking her to pay back the original amount in which I loaned her a year ago. Extra info: car is in my name, which is my security. I told her once she has paid me back, the car will be transferred into her name. Any input is appreciated. Okay, so I see both sides of this. OP was clear that this was a loan, wants the money back, but at the same time, girlfriend, fiance, she makes a good point too. You're planning a future together and presumably long-term future, you're married, finances get tied together, so what's the point of paying back if it's just going to go right back into the pool anyway? So I get both sides of it. I'm not really going to lean one way or the other here. Recent Body 5784 replied, "Wait a minute, the car's in your name, so you bought yourself a car that you allow her to use? So what's the problem? If you want the money back, you can sell the car. If you guys are actually doing really well and are actually moving towards marriage, then she definitely has a point that your finances are going to become joint marital assets. I don't know, it's up to you. I made almost 3 times as much as my partner, and I knew we were going to get married. I don't think I would allow that to become a point of contention in the relationship. On the other hand, you told her your expectations, she agreed, and now she's reneging on the deal. I'm typically a person of principle, and I would say that in this case, it's the principle of the situation that matters. However, I also wouldn't allow something as cheap as money to ruin a happy, healthy relationship, and that's coming from someone who grew up very poor and very frugal." Our next story is, "Am I the jerk for choosing to spend time with my half-sister instead of with my family that keeps excluding her? My half-sister is the result of my father cheating on my mom, so it's no surprise that apart from a few aunts, uncles, and cousins, my family doesn't really like her and will oftentimes exclude her from family events. I personally never held a grudge against her because she's the closest thing to a sibling I have since I'm an only child, and besides, I just never understood taking anger and frustration out on the child of an affair because she's a victim of the whole situation too. So I'm sure you can imagine that I hate how they pretty much just try to push her out of the family and make sure she doesn't feel welcomed. An event was coming up, nothing crazy, it was just a simple get-together. This was 2 weeks ago, and I knew they wouldn't invite my half-sister, so I just decided I wasn't going and was going to hang out with her for the day, and that's exactly what I did on the day of the get-together. After a few minutes of hanging out, I get a text from my mom asking where I was. I simply replied that I was with half sis and that I wasn't going to the get-together. Like 2 minutes later, my phone was blowing up with texts and voicemails and recordings from our family members. A lot of them were simply just insults being hurled at me and half sis, and the others were asking why I would rather spend time with her over the whole family. I decided to wait until things cooled down before giving a response to my family. After leaving around 10 p.m., I finally decided to text my mom and other family members, telling them that half sis is a part of the family in my eyes and shouldn't be treated like garbage for something she had no control in. And that's pretty much the story. I haven't really gotten any responses to my texts aside from the few family members being stubborn and saying how I was in the wrong, but I haven't backed down on my opinion. Edit. As someone in the comments pointed out, I should have mentioned that the event/get-together had family members from both mom and stepdad's side of the family. Now, I agree with you. Why are we ostracizing and blackballing someone because of who their parents are? They didn't ask for this, right? She didn't make her dad be a cheating scumbag, so why are we holding that against her? Not the jerk, I think that you're being an incredible sibling in this case. Nothing I say is real replied. This was a casual get-together at your mom's house? If that's the case, then unfortunately you're the jerk. Have a relationship with your sister, but your mom does not have to invite her just because she still interacts with the other people from your father's family. Your mom does not have to invite your half-sister every time she wants to have a small get-together. You're free to arrange your own family event and invite your sister and your father's family. Anyone that texted you insults is also a jerk. Our next story is, am I the jerk? Parents are calling me entitled for not getting a job. So my parents are forcing me to get a job. For context, I'm 16, I'm dual enrolled, meaning I do high school and college. I have sports Monday through Friday from 4 to 7 every night. So I told them I'm fine with getting a job, but when will I have free time to myself? My parents yell at me and say that I'm entitled, and my dad says he's the father of the house and it goes by what he says. How and when will I have free time for myself and my friends? Genuinely. My mom wants me to work on the weekends at Target. So, am I entitled? I mean, OP, you're 16. It sounds like you work very hard and, you're pushing towards a long-term objective. I don't see any sense of entitlement here. I think your parents are just, being a little hard on you. Apprehensive Book 4214 replied, not the jerk, and with how they're acting, I'm betting they're going to be stealing your money if you did get one. Show them your schedule on an actual daily calendar. Tell them your job right now is school. You don't have time for a second job. You need time to do homework, sleep, and just be. Your schedule is busy enough. If you do have to go to interviews, tell them your parents are making you and you won't be showing up because your schedule is already packed. They won't hire you. Also, is there any chance they're trying to sabotage your grades or sports? Some parents do this to try keeping control after you're 18. Don't get a job until you have the time and are an adult so they can't steal your earnings. Keep your focus on school so you can get away from them. Our next story is, am I the jerk for pushing back on my nutrition professor's assignments? I, 18-year-old female, am studying abroad in Paris for my freshman year of college. One of the few courses I could take to meet requirements was nutrition. For context, I was diagnosed with anorexia at 14, went through recovery, and later gained weight while on mood stabilizers for bipolar 2. My parent, who's a bit of a health freak, for lack of a better term, though I love him otherwise, encouraged me to go on Wegovy last year, and I lost 45 pounds. So I've had a complicated relationship with food, weight, and healthy eating. Back to class. The professor had us calculate our BMI and share it out loud. When some students said they didn't know their weight, she replied, "Oh, you don't weigh yourself at home? You should." I spoke up and said that asking a group of 18-year-olds to share BMI is a recipe for a toxic environment, and that there are better ways to teach it. She told me I didn't have to share if I was uncomfortable. Then she assigned us to take pictures of everything we eat for a week and make a slideshow so the class could analyze it. I again raised my hand and said I found this extremely uncomfortable and harmful for people's mental health, and asked if we can do an alternative assignment. She brushed me off, saying she understood my concerns, but wasn't going to change the assignment for one person's discomfort. When I said it wasn't really optional if it affected my grade, she basically told me that if I couldn't stop interrupting and criticizing her curriculum, I could leave. So I did. Now I'm wondering, am I the jerk for speaking up in class, or was I right to push back? You were absolutely right to push back, OP. I don't think this requires any further digging. Not the jerk. Hololog1C replied, "Not the jerk. You know what I find especially horrifying? A nutrition professor bringing up BMI, something made by a mathematician, is actually weird. It's widely considered inaccurate because weight is carried differently on everybody. Not to mention, nobody should weigh themselves constantly. If she had actually paid attention when she got her degree, she'd know constant weight watching has a serious effect on mental health." Our next story is, "Am I the jerk? I don't want sister-in-law to stay with us over Christmas with the new baby." Background. So, as with many people out there, I've not had a great relationship with my sister-in-law. Since meeting her, we've butted heads over many issues, which have resulted in unpleasant family trips and holidays. I feel she's been rude and disrespectful to me on many topics, most painful of which is the fact that my husband and I care for her mother, my mother-in-law, full-time. Their mother has early-onset Alzheimer's, and we moved her to our city, despite her living near my sister-in-law previously, to take care of her full-time. She's lived in our house for the past 3 years, and we provide around-the-clock care for her advanced dementia. My sister-in-law has never offered assistance, financial or otherwise, for her own mother. When we travel together, she doesn't help care for her mother, and my husband and I end up doing it. She continually questions her condition and tells us we should just stick her in a nursing home. When she does visit or call, we get criticism and critiques on how we should be caring for my mother-in-law better. This is personally offensive to me, not only for someone telling me how to run my house, but that we've given her own mother a great life, and she would be offering help and gratitude, not telling us what to do differently when she shows up once or twice a year. I truly don't mind that we do 100% of the care for her mother, but I don't want the criticism for how we do it. When a conflict with my sister-in-law arises, my husband does not step in, mediate, or defend me from his sister's attacks. When my sister-in-law visits my city to see her mother, my husband wants to let her stay in our house. Last time I put my foot down and said no, because I was 5 months pregnant and my own mother was just diagnosed with terminal cancer. So I've been very overwhelmed. She didn't stay in our home, and that visit went okay. Now sister-in-law wants to visit for the upcoming holidays, and my husband wants to let her stay in our house. I'm still nervous about this, because if a conflict does arise, my husband won't support me, and I'll be uncomfortable in my own house. I'm currently 8 months pregnant, and the baby will be 6 months old during her visit over the holidays. I'm very nervous to agree to let someone I've had so much difficulty with stay in my house, especially when I'll have a newborn baby, and I'm still going through absolute heck with my mother's cancer situation. Supporting my parents through this time has been devastating, on top of being pregnant and caring for my mother-in-law. I'm trying to be protective of my mental health and the well-being of my new family. I'm happy to spend time with her and try to improve our relationship over time. She can take her mother out as much as she wants, meet our new baby. I just don't want her staying in our house in case an issue arises. For what it's worth, she has enough money to stay at a hotel, no problem. Am I the jerk for telling my husband my sister-in-law can't stay with us during the holidays? No, you're not the jerk. I mean, you have to put your mental health first, and again, as I keep saying, your house, your rules. Dora, the urban explorer, replied, "Not the jerk. Forgetting the rest of the lore of your story, you're going to still be healing and have a newborn. No one should be expected to play host with a 6-week-old baby. You also have a husband problem. When your life settles more and is less overwhelming, I urge you to explore your husband's lack of support for you. You're doing so much for him. The least he can do is look out for you." Okay, everybody, that is all the time we have for today. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and comment down below. And if you want to check out any of our other videos, click the video on the right. I got nothing else for you. I will see you all next time.